We just got back from a walk, me and the puppy dogs. Gonna continue reading SAVITRI by Sri Aurobindo. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day today. Victory to the divine light, healing, love, and light for all. We are all one. Two little cuties, this is my audience. Excuse me. Okay. Canto 3 in Book 2. Canto 3, The Glory and Fall of Life. Thank you all for joining me as I read this beautiful book, Savitri. Please relax, open your hearts and your ears, hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. And here we go. An uneven, broad ascent now lured his feet. Answering a greater nature's troubled call, he crossed the limits of embodied mind. And entered wide, obscure, disputed fields, where all was doubt and change and nothing sure. A world of search and toil without repose. As one who meets the face of the unknown, a questioner with none to give reply, attracted to a problem never solved, always uncertain of the ground he trod, always drawn on to an inconstant goal, he traveled through a land peopled by doubts. In shifting confines on a quaking base, in front he saw a boundary ever unreached, and thought himself at each step nearer now, a far retreating horizon of mirage. A vagrancy was there that brooked no home, a journey of countless paths without a close, nothing he found to satisfy his heart, a tireless wandering sought and could not cease. There life is manifest, incalculable, a movement of unique seas along, adventurous leap of spirit into space, a vexed disturbance in the eternal calm, an impulse of passion of the infinite, assuming whatever shape her fancy wills. Escaped from the restraint of settled form, she has left the safety and of the tried and unknown, unshepherded by the fear that walks through time, undaunted by the faith that dogs and chance that springs. She accepts disaster as a common risk, careless of suffering, heedless of sin and fall. She wrestles with danger and discovery, and in the unexplored expanses of the soul to be seemed only a long experiment. The hazard the hazard of a seeking ignorant force that tries all truths, and finding none supreme moves on unsatisfied, unsure of its end. As some saw in her mind, so life was shaped. From thought to thought she passed from phase to phase, tortured by her own powers or proud and blessed. Now master of herself, now toy and slave, a huge inconsequence was her action's law, as if all possibility must be drained, and anguish and bliss were pastimes of the heart. In a gallop of thunderhoof vicissitude, she swept through the race fields of circumstance, or swaying, she tossed between her heights and deeps, uplifted or broken on time's inconstant wheel. Amid a tedious crawl of drab desires, she rived the worn mid worms and nature's mud. Then Titan statured took all earth for food, ambition the sea's robe, for crown the stars, and shouting strode from peak to giant peak, clamoring from worlds to conquer and to rule. Then, wantonly enamored of sorrow's face, she plunged into the anguish of the depths, and wallowing, clung to her own misery. In dolorous converse with her squandered self, she wrote the account of all that she had lost, or set with grief as in an ancient friend. A romp of violent raptures soon was spent, or she lingered tied to an inadequate joy, missing the turns of fate, missing life's goal. A scene was planned for all her numberless moods, where each could be each could be the law and way of life, but none could offer a pure felicity. Only a flickering zest left behind, or the fierce lust that brings a dead fatigue. Amid her swift untold variety, something remained dissatisfied, ever the same, and in the new saw only a face of the old, for every hour repeated all the rest, and every change prolonged the same unease. A spirit of herself, an aim unsure, tired soon of too much joy and happiness, she needs the spur of pleasure and of pain, and the native taste of suffering and unrest. She strains for an end that never can she win. A perverse savior haunts her thirsting lips, for the grief she weeps which came from her own choice. For the pleasure yearns that racked without wounds her breast. Aspiring to heaven, she turns her steps towards hell. Chance has chosen the danger for playfellows. Fate's dreadful swing has taken for cradle and seat. Yet pure and bright from the timeless was her birth. A lost world rapture lingers in her eyes. Her moods are faces of the infinite. Beauty and happiness are her native right, and endless bliss is her eternal home. This now revealed its antique face of joy, a sudden disclosure to the heart of grief, tempting it to endure in long in hope, ever in changing worlds bereft of peace, and in an air racked with sorrow and with fear. And while his feet trod on a soil unsafe, he saw the image of a happier state, in an architecture of hieratic space, circling and mounting towards creation's tops, at a blue height which never was too high for warm communion between body and soul, as far as heaven and as near as thought and hope, glimmered the kingdom of a griefless life above him in a new celestial vault. Other than the heavens beheld by mortal eyes, as on a fretted ceiling of the gods, an archipelago of laughter and fire, swarmed stars apart in a rippled sea of sky, towered spirals, magic rings of vivid hue, and gleaming spears of strange felicity floated through distance like a symbol world. On the trouble and the toil they could not share, on the unhappiness they could not aid, impervious to life's suffering, struggle, grief, untarnished by its anger, gloom, and hate, unmoved, untouched, looked down greater visioned plains, blissful forever in their timeless right, absorbed in their own beauty and content of their immortal gladness. They live sure, apart in their self-glory plunged, remote, burning they swarm in a vague, lucid haze, an everlasting refuge of dreamlight, a nebula of the splendors of the gods, made from the musings of eternity, almost unbelievable by human faith. Hardly they seem the stuff of things that are, as through the magic television's glass outlined to some magnifying inner eye. They shone like images thrown from a far scene, too high and glad for mortal lids to seize, but near and real to the longing heart. And to the body's passionate thought and sense are the hidden kingdoms of beatitude, in some close, unattained realm which yet we feel, immune from the harsh clutch of death and time, escaping the search of sorrow and desire, in bright enchanted safe peripheries, forever wallowing in bliss they lie. In dream and trance and muse before our eyes, across the subtle vision's inner field, wide rapturous landscapes fleeting from the sight, the figures of the perfect kingdom pass, and behind them leave a shining memory's trail. Image scenes or great eternal worlds, dream caught or sense, they touch our hearts with their depths. Unreal seeming yet more real than life, happier than happiness, truer than things true. If dreams these were or captured images, dreams Truth made false earth's vain realities. In a swift eternal moment fixed there live, or ever recalled, come back to longing eyes. Calm heavens of the imperishable light, illumined continents of violet peace, oceans and rivers of the mirth of God, and griefless countries under purple suns. This, once a star of bright remote idea, or imagination's comet trail of dream, took now a close shape of reality. The gulf between dream, truth, earth fact was crossed. The wonder worlds of life where dreams no more. His vision made all they unveiled its own. Their scenes, their happenings met his eyes and heart, and smote them with pure loveliness and bliss. A breathless summit region drew his gaze, whose boundaries jutted into a sky of self, and dipped towards a strange ethereal base. The quintessence glowed of life's supreme delight. On a spiritual and mysterious peak, only a miracle's high transfiguring line divided life from the formless infinite and sheltered time against eternity. Out of that formless stuff time mints his shapes, the eternal's quiet holes, the cosmic act. The protein images of the world force have drawn the strength to be, the will to last, from a deep ocean of dynamic peace. Inverting the spirit's apex towards life, she spins the plastic liberties of the one to cast an axe and dreams of her caprice. His wisdom's call steadies her careless feet. He props her dance upon a rigid base, his timeless still immutability must standardize her creation's miracle. Out of the void's unseen energies, inventing the scene of a concrete universe. By his thoughts she has fixed its paces and its blind acts. She sees by flashes of his all-knowing light. At her will the inscrutable supermind leans down to guide her force that feels but cannot know. Its breath of power controls her restless seas, and life obeys the governing idea. At her will, led by a luminous eminence, the hazardous experimenting mind pushes its way through obscure possibilities. Mid-chance formations of an unknowing world, our human ignorance moves towards truth, that nescience may become omniscient. Transmuted instinct shaped to divine thoughts, thoughts house infallible immortal sight, and nature climbs towards God's identity. The master of the world, self-made her slave, is the executor of her fantasies. She has canalized the seas of omnipotence. She has limited by her laws the illimitable. The immortal bound himself to do her works. He labors at the task her ignorance sets. Hidden in the cape of our mortality, the worlds, the forms her goddess fancy makes have lost their origin on unseen heights. Even severed, straying from their timeless source, even deformed, obscure, accursed, and fallen, since even fall has its perverted joy, and nothing she leaves out that serves delight. These two can to the peaks revert or hear, cut out the sentence of the spirit's fall, recover the forfeited divinity, at once caught in an eternal's wisdom sweep. He saw her pride and splendor of highborn zones in her regions crouching in the neither depths. Above was a monarchy of unfallen self. Beneath was a gloomy trance of the abyss. An opposite pole or dim antipodes. There were vast of the glory of life's absolutes. All laughed in a safe immortality and the eternal childhood of the soul. Before darkness came and pain and grief were born, where all could dare to be themselves and one. And wisdom played in sinless innocence with naked freedom in truth's happy sun. There were worlds of her laughter and dreadful irony. There were fields of her tasted toil and strife and tears. Her head lay on the breast of Armor's death. Sleep imitated a while extinction's peace. The light of God, she had parted from his dark to test the savior of bare opposites. Her mingling in man's heart their tones and hues have woven his being's mutable design, his life a forward rippling stream in time. his nature's constant fixed mobility, his soul a moving picture's changeful film, his cosmos chaos of personality, the grand creatrix of her cryptic touch, has turned to pathos and power, being's self-dream, made a passion play of its fathomless mystery. But here, where worlds lifted halfway to heaven, the veil was there, but not the shadowy wall. In forms not too remote for a human grasp, some passion of the inviolate purity broke through a ray of the original bliss. Heaven's joys might have been earth's if earth were pure. There could have reached our divinized sense and heart some natural felicity's bright extreme, some thrill of the supernature's absolutes. All strings could laugh and sport on earth's hard roads, and never feel her cruel edge of pain. All love could play and nowhere nature's shame, but she has stabled her dreams in matter's courts, and still her doors are barred to things supreme. These worlds could feel God's breath visiting their tops. Some glimmer of the transcendent hymn was there. Across the white aeonic silences, immortal wide spaces near to eternity's sleep. Pure mystic voices in the beatitude's hush appealed to love's immaculate sweetnesses, calling in honeyed touch to thrill the worlds, his blissful hands to seize on nature's limbs, his sweet and tolerant might of union, to take all beings into his Savior arms, drawing to his pity the rebel and the waif, to force on them the happiness they refuse, a chant hymnal to the unseen divine. A flaming rhapsody of white desire lured an immortal music into the heart and woke the slumbering ear of ecstasy. A purer, fierier sense had there its home, a burning urge no earthly limbs can hold. One drew a large, unburdened, spacious breath, and the heart sped from beat to rapturous beat. The voice of time sang of the immortal's joy, an inspiration and a lyric cry. The moments came with ecstasy on their wings. Beauty unimaginable moved heaven bare, absolute from boundaries in the vast of dream. The cry of birds of wonder called from the skies. To the deathless people of the shores of light, creation leaped straight from the hands of God. Marvel and rapture wandered in the ways. Only to be was a supreme delight. Life was a happy laughter of the soul, and joy was king, and with love for minister. The spirit's luminous was bodied there. Life's contraries were lovers or natural friends, and her extremes, keen edges of harmony. Indulgence with a tender purity came, and nursed the God on her maternal breast. There none was weak, so falsehood could not live. Ignorance was a thin shade protecting light. Imagination, the free will of truth. Pleasure, a candidate for heaven's fire. The intellect was beauty's worshipper. Strength was a slave of calm spiritual law. Power laid its head upon the breast of bliss. There, where summit glories inconceivable, autonomies of wisdom, still self-rule, and high dependencies of her virgin son, S-U-N, illumined theocracies of the seeing soul, throned in the power of the transcendence ray, a vision of grandeurs, a dream of magnitudes, in sun-bright kingdoms moved with real gait, assemblies crowded, sentence of the gods, life's puissances reigned on seats of marble will, high dominations and autocracies, and laurel strengths and armed imperative mights, all objects there were great and beautiful, all beings wore a royal stamp of power. There sat the oligarchies of natural law, proud, violent heads served one calm monarch brow. All the souls postured donned divinity. There met the ardent mutual intimacies of mastery's joy and the joy of servitude, imposed by love on love's heart that obeys, and love's body held beneath a rapturous yoke. All was a game of meeting kingliness, for worship lifts the worshipper's borrowed strength close to God's pride and bliss, his soul adores. The ruler there is one with all he rules. To him who serves with a free equal heart, obedience is his princely training school. His nobility's coronet and privilege. His faith is a high nature's idiom. His service is a spiritual sovereignty. There were realms where knowledge joined creative power in her high home and made her all his own. The grand illuminate seized her gleaming limbs and filled them with the passion of his ray, till all her body was its transparent house, and all her soul a counterpart of his soul. Apotheosized, transfigured by wisdom touch, her days became a luminous sacrifice, an immortal moth, and a, oh wow, I just saw a moth on the mailbox outside the front door as I was leaving to go walk the dogs and coming back. He's been there all day as I've been reading. Maybe next time I see him, I'll ask her if she's an immortal moth. I know we are. We're all one. Ain't that right, Piggy Needles? Cutest puppy dog in the whole wide world. Okay. And we continue on. Where are we? Okay. His nobility, coronet, and privilege, his faith is a high nature's idiom, his service a spiritual sovereignty. There were realms where knowledge joined creative power in her high home and made her all his own. The grand illuminate seized her gleaming limbs and filled them with the passion of his ray, till all her body was its transparent house, and all her soul was a counterpart of his soul. Apotheosized, transfigured by wisdom's touch, her days became a luminous sacrifice, an immortal moth, yeah, there we were, in happy and endless fire. She burned in his sweet, intolerable blaze. A captive life wedded her conqueror. In his wide sky she built her world anew. She gave to mind's calm pace the motor's speed, to thinking a need to live what the soul saw, to living an impetus to know and see. His splendor grasped her, her puissance to him clung. She crowned the idea a king in purple robes, put her magic serpent scepter in thought's grip, made forms his inward vision rhythmic shapes, and her acts the living body of his will. A flaming thunder, a creator flash, his victor light rode on her deathless force. A scimitar's mighty gallop bore the god, life throned with mind, a double majesty. Worlds were there of a happiness great and grave, and actions tinged with dream, laughter, and thought. And passion there could wait for its desire until it heard the near approach of God. Worlds where there of a childlike mirth and joy, a carefree youthfulness of mind and heart, found in the body of a heavenly instrument. It lit an aurate halo round desire, and freed the defied animal in the limbs, to divine gambols of love and beauty and bliss, on a radiant soil that gazed at heaven's smile. A swift life impulse stinted not nor stopped. It knew not how to tire, happy were its tears. There work and play, the only work, the task of heaven, a game of godlike might, a celestial bacchanal forever pure. Bacchanal, forever pure. Unstayed by faintness as immortal frames, life was an eternity of rapture's moods. Age never came, care never lined the face, imposing on the safety of the stars a race and laughter of immortal strengths. The nude god children in their play fields ran, smithing the winds with splendor and with speed. Of storm and sun they made companions, sported with the white mane of tossing seas, slew distance, trampled to death under their wheels, and wrestled in the arenas of their force, and imperious in their radiance like the suns. They kindled heaven with the glory of their limbs, flung like a divine largeness to the world, a spell to force the heart to stark delight. They carried the pride and mastery of their charm. As if life's banner on the roads of space, ideas were luminous comrades of the soul. Mind played with speech, cast javelins of thought, but needed not these instruments toil to know. Knowledge was nature's pastime like the rest, investured with the fresh heart's bright ray, and early God instincts child inheritors, tenets of the perpetuity of time, still thrilling with the first creation's bliss. They steeped existence in their youthful soul and exquisite and vehement tyranny. The strong compulsion of their will to joy poured smiling streams of happiness through the world. There reigned a breath of high imbued content, a fortunate gate of days and tranquil air, a flood of universal love and peace, a sovereignty of tireless sweetness lived. Like a song of pleasure on the lips of time, a large spontaneous order freed the will, a sudden frank wing of the souls of bliss, and the breath of and greatness of the unaffected act. In the swift fire heart's golden liberty there was no falsehood of soul severance. There came no crookedness of thought or word to rob creation of its native truth. All was sincerity and natural force. Their freedom was sole rule and highest law. In a happy series climbed or plunged these worlds, in realms of curious beauty and surprise, in fields of grandeur and of titan power. Life played at ease with her immense desires. 1,000 Edens she could build nor pause. No bound was set to her greatness and to her grace, and to her heavenly variety. Awake with the cry and stir of numberless souls, arisen from the breast of some deep infinite, smiling like a newborn child at love and hope, in her nature housing the immortal's power, in her bosom bearing the eternal will. No guide she needed but her luminous heart. No fall debased the godhead of her steps. No alien night had come to blind her eyes. Mi corazón de melón. There was no use for grudging ring or fence. Each act was a perfection of and a joy, abandoned to her rapid fancy's moods and the rich colored riot of her mind. Initiate of divine and mighty dreams, magician builder of unnumbered forms. Exploring the measures of the rhythms of God, at will she wove her wizard wonder dance, a Dionysian goddess of delight, a bacchant of creative ecstasy. This world of bliss he saw and felt its call, but found no way to enter into its joy. Across the conscious gulf where there was no bridge, a darker air encircled still his soul, tied to an image of unquiet life. In spite of yearning mind and longing sense, to a sad thought by gray experience formed, and a vision dimmed by care and sorrow and sleep. All this seemed only a bright desirable dream, conceived in a longing distance by the heart, of one who walks in the shadows of the earth pain. Although he once had felt the eternal's clasp, too near to suffering worlds his nature lived, and where he stood were entrances of night, hardly too close beset by the world's care. Can the dense mold in which we have been made return sheer joy to joy, pure light to light, for its tormented will to think and live, first to a mingled pain and pleasure woke, and still it keeps the habit of its birth. A dire duality is our way to be. In the crude beginnings of this mortal world, life was not, nor mind's play, nor heart's desire. When earth was built,